Hey everybody, it's Kathy. Welcome to episode 18 of Mondays on the Mat. I'm coming to you live from my office slash yoga room, and I have a somewhat exuberant, although maybe moving off to the side now, co-host today. So we'll see if she ends up coming in and saying hi during today's episode. Please know that there is going to be just a tiny bit of adult language, not too much, but if you're watching at work or you've got some littles around and you want to protect those sensitive ears, please plug in your earphones, your earbuds, those things. So I'm really excited about today's question that comes from Kaylee, and she wants to know, how can I do yoga when I feel like shit? And I just love this question so much because it's really easy to get caught up in our social media world, especially on Instagram, where we see all of these beautiful, amazing postures. We see people making forward progress, and it's really rare that you see anyone go, I feel like shit, so I'm not doing yoga today. Or I feel like shit, and so this is how I'm doing yoga today. And it's such a vital piece of the practice because we all know we're going to go through times where we don't feel our best. So I'm going to address, this is like one of those questions, you guys, that has got me like, oh, I want to tell you everything in my brain right now. So I'm going to do my best to stay really focused on answering the question. But if you have any comments or questions along the way, please put them down here in the comment box, and I'll do my best to incorporate that as we go through today's episode. And just know, you guys, I've noticed sometimes there's like a delay, and I won't even see your comment until after I've stopped recording, but I will definitely still respond to you. I'll just type it out instead of talk it to you if it comes up later. So how do I do yoga when I feel like shit? Okay, first of all, I think it's important to know that there are different ways that we can feel like shit. So we can be really, really sick. We can be injured. We could be recovering from a surgery that may or may not have been associated with injury. It could have been something else. We can be emotionally feeling like shit. For example, dealing with really intense grief or loss or unexpected changes in our lives. And so know that all of those different ways of not feeling your best are going to potentially affect your yoga practice. And so it's really important to remember that the type of yoga that I'm teaching and practicing is called Raja Yoga, and I discuss Raja Yoga in episodes 2 and 3. If you want to learn a little bit more about the wholeness of a yoga practice, go back later and watch those 2 episodes. And in them, I describe that Raja Yoga is this 8-part practice, and one piece of the 8-part is asana, or the poses. So I think the question that Kaylee is really asking is, how can I do asana when I feel like shit? And you definitely can do asana when you feel like shit, but we want to incorporate one aspect of the niyamas, which is one of the first pieces of a yoga practice, and that niyama is aparigraha, or non-attachment. And so it's really easy to get attached to the type of asana or yoga that we do, especially if we're doing like really strong yoga, especially the type that I teach and practice. Strong poses, a lot of flowing movement, lots of jumping around. It's very exercisey while also being balanced with strength and suppleness and energetic balance. So it's good to remember that yoga comes in a lot of different flavors, as I like to call it, or some people say a lot of different types of medicine. And so it comes down to choosing the right flavor of yoga for when you feel like shit. And if you feel like shit, chances are jumping around, creating a lot of heat and a lot of movement and handstands and upside downs and twisties and things like that, they're not really the right flavor of yoga. So first we have to be really able to be not attached, that our yoga practice has to look and be the same all the time for the duration of our lifespan, because that's really not feasible. And then the next thing that we have to practice this aparigraha with has to do with the amount of time that we're away from our strong yoga practice, because after a week or two, you're not going to really notice much of a difference. But say you were recovering from a surgery, or for a lot of women in the beginning and ending stages of pregnancy, and then also postpartum. They're not able to do that same style of practice, which means that there are going to be some losses to your strength and or flexibility. That's just a fact. And so again, we have to be sort of not attached that the only reason we do yoga is to continually get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, but that we do yoga to feel better. And so when we feel like crap, the yoga that we do to make us feel better may at times, pull us back a little bit from some of those big leaps and bounds in our strength and our flexibility. But by coming back to feeling better, we'll eventually be able to dance ourselves back towards that type of a practice, okay? So that being said, the best flavor of yoga for when we feel any type of like shit in our lives is one that's quieter and softer and potentially even done in bed. So I'm going to show you today a whole bunch of options of some yoga poses and practices that you can do to help you feel better in the moment, and really just embracing the fact that you don't feel great and that your asana is going to look a little bit different. So before I move the camera down and we start getting into what that asana looks like, there is a couple things you may want to have handy. One is an eye pillow. And if you don't have an eye pillow, you can just take a hand towel or a washcloth and fold it up into this kind of a shape. You also are going to want maybe some yoga blocks. And again, these is cool. If you don't have yoga blocks at home, you know what works about the same size and shape is a tissue box or a book or a pillow or a folded up towel. So anything that could get into sort of this type of a shape, 2 or 3 of these. And then lastly, you'll see when I move the camera down, I have a yoga bolster set up. And if you don't have a yoga bolster, again, that's totally fine, because what you can do is grab a blanket or 2 or a towel that's really firm and fold them up into a rectangle type of shape. And I find when I feel like crap, the hardest part about doing yoga is setting all of this stuff up to do the type of quiet, stretchy poses that help me feel better. So that's the toughest part. Get your yoga toys out and get them on the ground. And if you don't have any yoga toys and you just get on the ground and do the types of things I'm showing you here, that's going to work just as well. So the last note I'm going to say before I head on down and show you some stuff is why I'm going to show you what I'm showing you. So when we don't feel well for whatever reason, whether it's just hormones or we're sick or whatever it is, we tend to go fetal, right? We curl up in a little ball, we're in bed curled up, or we're crying and or we're protecting ourselves. And so what happens is not only are we exhausted, but our body is all curled up in this forward folding position, and that starts to feel really uncomfortable in the physical body. So we're going to unfurl some of that so that the physical body feels better. And we're also doing these quiet, restful poses because when we feel like crud, our body needs to rest in order to repair and renew and refresh and heal itself. And it can't do that if you're jumping around going crazy in a strong practice. So here we go. Let's take a look at a few poses that you can do when you feel like shit. Moving the camera down. Hang with me, everybody. Here we go. And as I come down, oh, that is a horrible shot. Sorry about that, y'all. I wanted to step enough out of the way that you can see. So what I have set up here is my bolster propped up on a block. And like I said, if you don't have a bolster, you just grab a couple of blankets and stack them up in that same shape. You don't have to prop it up on the block either. I happen to do so because I have a very tall bolster and it creates too much arch in the low back if it's flat on the ground. If you have a smaller bolster or just one blanket, you may not need that sort of diagonal support, but it's definitely nice. So this first pose is called Supta Baddha Konasana and is my absolute favorite pose when I'm not feeling great, whether that's, like we said, all those different reasons. So you're going to bring the low part of your sacrum and touch it right up against the bolster. Put your feet together. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. The soles of my feet are coming together, knees apart, and I'm going to lean back. So now here's a couple of things. For some people, when their knees are apart, this puts too much strain on their hips and or their knees. So what you can do if that applies to you is grab your block or your folded up towel or rolled up blanket or rolled up towel and prop that underneath your knee and your thigh, and it reduces the angle and the pressure in the hip crease. Now, another thing that I often offer for students and sometimes do for myself is in the arms, because when you relax your arms by your side, sometimes, again, it just doesn't feel so great. So you can do what I call the yoga lounge chair, which is grab your block and rest your arms on your blocks to either side. And again, this takes off some of the strain and pressure. Last note, if the knees out to the side is uncomfortable, straighten your legs and just let them flop. You're going to grab your eye pillow or your towel and place that over your eyes. Oh my gosh, you guys, I could just stay right now forever, but I'm going to keep talking to you. You might want to set a timer for 5 to 7 minutes and breathe deeply as you open your front body. You may not, you may just want to stay as long as feels good. But again, what this is doing is it's unfurling the whole front body from that fetal, curled up, I don't feel good position. And it really just helps you feel so much better. So since you've got all your yoga toys out, what you can also do is some twists using the support of your bolster and your block. You can leave it up on the block, you can take it down, or again, if you're using your blankets, they're already there. So you do this one on either side. You take your outer hip right up to the edge of your bolster, take the back knee into the sole of the front foot, which I realize is getting cut off, like that. Turn your chest to the bolster and lie yourself down. Your head can turn either way. I'm going to turn towards the camera so that you can see me and I can talk to you. And relax your shoulders, relax your body into the support. So again, what this is doing is it's just wringing out and opening up the body from that fetal, protected, uncomfortable position, and you're just going to hang out and breathe. So the main shapes you want to take when you aren't feeling well are front body opening and some gentle twists, and sort of opening up through the legs as well, because again, like you're often crunched into a tight ball when you're not feeling well. So you can do this twist on both sides. I like to do it for about 2 minutes at a time. And then another great thing you don't see often, but is so fabulous, is to straddle your bolster or your blankets, set them up as high as you'd like, and lean forward. So you get to do some forward folds, but they're not so curled in, because you can see what the bolster is doing is keeping the whole front body open and lengthened, the whole back body opened and lengthened, and then you get a really nice mild stretch without going back into that sort of curled up, uncomfortable position. So you can hang out there for anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes in any shape of a forward fold. So you could do the legs out to the side. You can bring your feet together, knees apart, and hold onto your bolster or your blankets like a little teddy bear. And again, 3 to 5 minutes is so fabulous here in the forward folds. Another type of shape that you can take, and again, there's no prescribed like set of sequences here for feeling like crap. These are all just examples, and a lot of times if you just make the effort of getting all the goodies out and onto the mat, you'll just start to naturally move around. So this next one, taking your bolster sideways, is a great side body stretch. So you just lie sideways over it, take either foot forward or back, depending on what you prefer. And reach the top arm all the way up and overhead. I'm getting cut off, but I'm gonna hold the top arm with the bottom hand and pull to the side. If that's a strain on your neck, all you have to do is prop it up with one of your blankets or towels and pull and stretch your side body open. Minute to 2 minutes on both sides. Again, just feels so great, unfurling the body from that crunched in fetal unhappy position. What you might find, surprisingly, after you've decided to move around a little bit, is that you might be in the mood for a soft down dog. And I would just do it with the feet as wide as the mat. Let's move that so I can show you. So feet as wide as your mat. So there's a little angle. Wide as your mat, shorter than normal stance, and just let yourself hang and stretch your back body and the legs long. If you want to do child's pose, I would also recommend you do your child's pose with your bolster, so you're not crunching in as far to that fetal position. But again, see how this is keeping my torso long and straight, whereas if we did child's pose without it, we're kind of curling back into that crunched up position. So my recommendation, when you feel like shit and you feel like you should be doing some yoga, is to pull out all of your toys or your makeshift yoga toys and start opening up your body, the front body and the side body especially. Not so curled in, nothing crazy, jumping around, and practicing again non-attachment and being really patient with yourself, knowing that you will feel better. And when you do feel better, you can start to work back into a stronger, more rigorous yoga practice. So that's my answer to how do I do yoga when I'm feeling like shit. You pick the best flavor or the best medicine of yoga for you at that time, and pack a little bit of patience and self-care along the way, and you will start to feel better. So tune in next week when I also have another great question that I'm answering, which is, what am I supposed to be thinking about during Shavasana? Oh my God, such a great question. I've often heard people say that Shavasana is the hardest yoga pose of them all, and we're going to dive into that next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. Come see me live in group classes this week, Tuesday 6:30 to 8, Wednesday 5:30 to 7, Friday 9:30 to 11, and Saturday 9 to 10:30. And no private spots open this week or next week, but I might have something in July. So if you're wanting to work at your own pace, if you'd like your own customized I don't feel so great yoga sequence, be in touch and we'll get you set up for a private lesson to get you feeling better. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Namaste.